Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Hope everyone had a great Christmas and we're just heading into the new year now. Hoping for a great 2026, as I'm sure you are. 2025 for me, not so great. But 2026 is coming up, so I'm sure it's going to be fantastic here in Ecuador. So, today's video, we're going to be talking about the top 10 expat retirement locations in Ecuador. So, some of these choices may be controversial, some may not, and we may have a few bonus ones at the end of the video for those of you that didn't find a retirement location for you. So, let's get going. So let's get started right away with the number one location, the most popular, not only in Ecuador, but the most popular in South America is Cuenca, Ecuador. And, some of these pros, the climate, this internal spring that people talk about. I love that term, internal spring. Spring is not always wonderful, but anyway, mild, consistent temperatures, typically in the 50s to 70s. You can have beautiful afternoons, but you are going to have colder nights. Cost of living, like the rest of Ecuador, is extremely affordable, especially in a big city like Cuenca. Great housing costs, food, utility, across the board. And one of the big advantages of Cuenca, more than any other location, is the expat community, large expat community, large English-speaking expat community. So it's easy to fit in, lots of social clubs, amazing healthcare. Some of the best in Ecuador is located in Cuenca. Most of it private that you would want to go to. Certainly Cuenca, it feels like, if you haven't been there, it really feels like you're in a beautiful European city. And there's really lots of walkability with the rivers there and lots of cultural things that you can do. Now, with comes good, comes bad, my friends. So some of the cons. The altitude. This is probably the number one con. And we're at, 8,400 feet. And some people can adjust after a few days. Some people don't feel it at all. And some people can never adjust and they have to move. Because it's not, if you can't adjust, your body's trying too much and it can be a lot of wear and tear on your heart and cardiovascular system. So, that's something you want to check out with an exploratory trip, and an exploratory trip that more than a few days in Cuenca, so you can really make sure how things are. And like any kind of urban city, we got traffic, we got pollution. The weather can be variable. Some people can say it's cold here, and it really depends on where you're coming from. If you're coming from Northern Ontario, Canada, it's not cold in Cuenca. It's beautiful. If you're coming from Texas, Arizona, Florida, it's cold in Cuenca. So it all depends kind of where you're coming from, what your expectations are. Check it out. Try it out. Language barrier goes across, all of these places we're going to talk about. As you move further down into South America in general, as you move away from Central America and into Colombia and into Ecuador and into Peru, you pick it, there's going to be a lot less English-speaking people. But Cuenca, not so bad. Quito, not so bad. As you do get some people who are speaking English, and of course you want to learn Spanish anyway. And again, across the board in Ecuador, the bureaucracy can be a much slower pace, especially those first couple of years when you're used to maybe a faster paced bureaucracy if you're coming from Canada or the U.S. So now let's look at Cotacachi. And, we can talk about some of the pros first. It's very much the, high quality leather goods, lots of handicrafts, really a really great local market there. Cool mountain climate. That may be something you're interested in and looking for, refreshing and comfortable air. And a very strong, probably one of the strongest indigenous cultures as far as location goes within Ecuador. Very safe area and very close to nature, nestled between volcanoes with easy access to lots of great hiking. Cons again, altitude here. You got to see whether you can handle this or not. And because it's that sort of small town feel, limited nightlife and entertainment, and that small town, and some people will find this a pro. They don't want to be in some place that would be called a city. Again, language barrier, and a major distance to cities, major cities into Quito for your international flights back to United States and Canada. And now we're going to look at Manta, Ecuador. So some of the pros: very much a modern port city, very dry climate. You get a lot more sun at the sort of top of the coast and the bottom of the coast than you do in sort of that middle area where I live. So you get that arid, dry climate. And of course, what comes with that is sort of not a lot of vegetation, which is why I didn't pick it. But for a lot of people, they don't care about the vegetation. They want that sun out as much as possible. Very affordable coastal living, healthcare access, major hospitals that have opened up in Manta, and very much one of the growing expat communities within Ecuador. Some of the cons is it really doesn't have that beach town kind of feel to it. Although there's many beach towns, if you want that feel, that you can drive from Manta, for the day and enjoy that. But it has that less of a beachy vibe. And of course, you're in a city, so you are getting more traffic congestion, language barrier, like all of these different places, and you are getting some crime here. If you stay out of the issues of where the cartels are located, where the bad neighborhoods are located, like any major city. The only real risk you're going to have is more around petty crime. And of course, you're right on the coast, so you will have some higher humidity and you will get that salt air. So if you're purchasing a home, you will find the maintenance will be quite high compared to the Sierra. Now let's talk about Vilcabamba. Its history, which you've read about it a little bit already, maybe, is really that one of those blue zones around the world, the valley of longevity and wellness. So you do get, a lot of, organic type produce there, clean air, clean water. And it goes right along with the ideal, what a lot of people would consider the ideal subtropical climate. So you got the warm spring-like weather, warmer than Cuenca. You're in the 60s and 80s, and consistent weather, comfortable weather, peaceful rural lifestyle, quiet, slow pace, tranquilo. And you're surrounded by nature everywhere. Perfect for relaxation and hiking, and of course, a very low cost of living, especially for local fresh produce and housing. And your expat community is a little different here in Vilcabamba. You're either going to fit right in and love it, and you're going to think, what am I doing with all these crazy people? And I say that with fondness. You really get more of a alternative, health-conscious individuals, spiritual seekers, digital nomads. You can get really all kinds of people here. It's a mishmash of everything, and that's something again you need to experience through an exploratory trip to find out whether this is your vibe, or are there people there that sort of match what you're interested in. Some of the cons is, of course, you're further away. You have more limited medical facilities. You have to sort of go into Loja, but that's only an hour away. So unless you have major issues, that should be fine for most people. Remote location in the sense of international airports and international travel. Some people experience, small town boredom. But again, this is really up to the individual. That could be a positive for some who don't want the bigger city life. And again, fewer larger supermarkets, and of course, a language barrier, which all of these have. So we're heading back to the coast, Puerto Lopez. Let's talk about that. So really, it's a gateway to nature and a national park. Huge national park there, which includes some of the best beaches and also great hiking. And you're really in an authentic fishing village vibe. That's your vibe here. Not so much a beach town vibe, which we'll get to some beach towns later. But this is your real Ecuadorian coastal culture here. And again, very affordable living, very relaxed, slow paced, lots of restaurants because there's major tourism here. This is your eco tourism destination and whale watching hub. So lots of places here. You want to do some deep sea fishing. You want to go to, Isle de la Plata, which is the poor man's Galapagos. This is where you'll launch from. And any type of tours out into the ocean, this is where you would go. Some of the cons, again, not a lot of large supermarkets here, and your medical facilities are pretty basic. And it can be pretty touristy during the high season for all the reasons I just mentioned on the pro side. Language barrier, as all of them have, and a fairly big distance to major cities for that international travel that you would want to do from time to time. And the next one, and I'm not going to try and pronounce this. Normally I check that out first, and I totally forgot this time, and I'm not going to butcher it in front of a few thousand people. Those days are done. No more butchering. So here what we have is really an eco-city, tranquil vibe, and it's a very calm, relaxing atmosphere. Beautiful tropical coastal climate. You're in that 75 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, sunny, a good amount of the time, and certainly very pleasant. A very safe area. Everyone talks about, oh, the coast. Don't go to the coast. And they're really talking about some of the bigger ports, well, the port cities, Guayaquil and Manta, and even within those areas, there's many safe areas. But anyway, this is one of the safest places on the coast, and a lot of the little towns, beach towns around this. Again, very affordable living, and this is a growing expat community. So it's a place you probably want to check out when you're doing, if the coast interests you, go and take an exploratory trip and spend a few nights here and see what it's like. Some of the cons, and again, we've heard some of these before, limited medical facilities. You really have to travel to Manta. Slower pace and nightlife. I always like this because I love slower pace. I'm not in a big city and I don't need any nightlife at all. So when I see these on the con side, it's like, for me, they're on the pros. This is where you need to look at these and find out where these things really fit for you. Humidity and salt air. You get a lot of high humidity at times, and again, it depends where you're coming from. If you're coming from Florida, you will find the humidity on the coast no big deal at all. If you're coming from a very dry area and you're not used to humidity, then it'll present a bit of a challenge for you. And of course, the salt air that we've talked about, the distance from major cities, and of course the language barrier. But a place that deserves your notice. And the next one we're going to talk about is Loja, Ecuador. And, some people say this is the music capital and the cultural capital for, the real Ecuador. The legit Ecuador is in Loja. And you're getting, again, a beautiful temperature here, mild temperate climate, 60s and 70s, very, very pleasant, affordable and clean city. And as I said, yes, you're getting the real Ecuador experience, less touristy than Cuenca, and a very authentic local vibe as compared to Vilcabamba, which we talked about earlier. And a lot of people say this is really almost the new Cuenca, and a lot of expats are starting to move into this area. Great healthcare, a lot of positives, and it's a university town, so you get really a lively atmosphere. Lots of great restaurants. The cons, altitude is the issue here, as it is in many places. But it is lower than Cuenca and Quito, but it still may require adjustment for some of you that are very sensitive to that. Although it's a growing expat community, there's really fewer expats here at this point compared to obviously Cuenca. Slower pace and nightlife, hooray for people like me. Not so good for some of you who want that, you go out to eat at 9 o'clock and come home at 1 or 2. Distance from major hubs. This is probably really a major one for people who want to go back to Canada and United States on a pretty regular basis, because you are much further away to either Quito or Guayaquil, and language barrier, of course, as we talked about. And now we're going to look at Salinas, Ecuador. And what's interesting is really the competitiveness that you get from sort of a Salinas and a Manta. And, you go in their expat Facebook groups, and, everyone in Manta hates Salinas. Everyone in Salinas hates Manta. I'm exaggerating, obviously. But these are really the two cities on the coast for expats to basically choose from if you want that city. If you want to be in that condo on the 12th floor, 15th floor, facing out into the ocean and have that ocean view, this is where you want to pick one of those two locations. And they both have very different vibes, and so you need to sort of check them out and decide if you're into that city coastal side of things, which one is a better match for you. So modern beach city, well-developed infrastructure here, condos, restaurants, really vibrant, especially in the high season. Warm, sunny climate. Again, you'll get a lot more sun here, just like you do in Manta, compared to the middle part of the coast where I'm located. And, warm, sunny climate, 70s and 80s. Affordability is very good here. Just excellent for a major city and a beach town. Very established expat community. Lots of different social clubs and things that you can do here. And, like Manta, very good healthcare facilities, new hospital, and modern supermarkets. The cons is, again, for the touristy areas, they can get quite busy. So what happens here is a lot of the Ecuadorians from Guayaquil will head to, up the coast as well, into the Salinas area for, all the weekends and holidays within the high season. And again, you get the humidity here and salt air. And again, you don't get so much. Oh, there is some cartel activity here, not in a major kind of way, but certainly there is the petty crime risk, and the infrastructure Sometimes you'll get water shortages or pressure issues that can happen in certain areas and certain times. And although that's the first time we came across this in these cities that we've been looking at, it can be a problem almost anywhere in Ecuador, including electricity, as we had major electricity crisis across all of Ecuador last year. Not in 2025 though, which is great. And of course the language barrier issue. And let's don't forget Quito. Now we're talking about Quito here, but there's also lots of different suburbs and neighborhoods outside of Quito that would match all of this as well. So you can kind of find something that you would like. So you're looking at, big city, cultural hub here, theaters, malls, any kind of dining that you want. The international airports there, going direct to Miami and other places in North America. You got healthcare access. Some of the best in the country are located here. You're having major surgery. It's probably, and I mean major, serious stuff. It's probably going to happen here. And you have a cool climate. You're especially at night, you're into the 50s, and extensive public transportation network, including the new metro that they have here. The biggest con by far is you're at a very high altitude, which will knock a lot of people out. But there is some suburbs that are a little lower, may or may not be low enough for you. Traffic and pollution, you're in a major city here. Crime risk, you're going to have higher crime here than in you're in a big city. You need to know the neighborhoods, you need to know when to go out, where to go, all of that. Although it doesn't have anywhere near the crime and not even in the same category as Guayaquil. Cost of living here is a little higher than the average because it's a business place. It's the major city in Ecuador, and you are going to pay a little bit more, and you're getting sort of that unpredictable mountain weather from strong sun. Sometimes you can go all the way down to hail can happen. I've seen many videos in Quito of hail pounding down. So you are going to get some of that. But if this is kind of the vibe you're looking for, you should check out Quito, especially since you're going to be going through it anyway. As far as coming down, that or Guayaquil as the international hubs. So here we are finally in Olon, Ecuador. So this is where I live, and there's really a stretch here. So although I'm going to talk about Olon, there's a few beach towns all stuck together that virtually run into each other. I'm going to go down, starting in the south, Manglor Alto. Then you'll hit Montanita, which I'm sure many of you have heard about and maybe have visited. Then you're going to hit into Olon, and there's others further south and further north, but sort of those three are very close together, and the people here treat all three as if we're living in all three. You might live in one and party in the other, or you'll know a great restaurant in one, and it really is, and they all have completely different vibes, so you need to be able to kind of check them all out together and find out which one is for you. So the pros here, very laid back, tranquilo, beach vibe and community. It is a welcoming, tight knit community. The Ecuadorians are very friendly here, and so are the expats. And there's different little expat groups as you would normally get anywhere with their own interests and things that they do. One of the things I love here is that stunning long beach, especially when the tide is out, and it's just gorgeous. You can walk, trying to think, probably 5 miles. I think you can walk this beach from sort of the South Montanita side all the way up to La Entrada. And it's certainly affordable coastal living. Although it has picked up in price, I've noticed that certainly it's becoming very popular for Ecuadorians to come and move here from Guayaquil or have a second house here, and they come on the weekends. A lot of the beachfront homes around this area are owned by richer Ecuadorians from that Guayaquil and from the Sierra, who will come from Cuenca. A lot of people do that, Cuenca for part of the year and this area of the coast for another part of the year. You got, as I mentioned, proximity to Montanita. You're close enough to enjoy the craziness that can happen there in the high season at night, or go to some nice restaurants there for lunch. So it really expands your choice. And one of the major reasons that I'm here is the natural beauty. There's lush mountains here. Of course, when everyone says lush vegetation, that means we're obviously getting more rain here than some of the drier areas that don't have the lush vegetation. You can't have both. So let's look at some of the cons. There's really no big supermarkets here. If you want a big supermarket experience, you're basically an hour away into the La Libertad Salinas area. Medical facilities, the same thing. You have to basically wait, or not wait. You can get basic health care here, and then you would have to go to an hour away to Salinas. Excuse me. Humidity and lots of bugs. Insects like you've never seen before. So here are the top 10. Here's where they're located across Ecuador. And you can see the pros in an overall Ecuadorian point of view is really the climate and lifestyles. You can really pick what you want. Low cost of living compared to United States and Canada is pretty dramatic. And it's increasing as every year passes because the inflation rate in Ecuador, I think it's like 1.2 or 3% right now compared to the United States and Canada, which is significantly more. In fact, I can't remember a time where the inflation rate, not in the past decade, was higher here than United States or Canada. So that divide is growing. Healthcare, world class in the private facilities in the major cities. Different, vibrant expat communities that have their own vibe. So you really need to check them out, especially if you're a really social type person. Unlike myself, I'm more introverted. I kind of stay with, a few people I'll hang out with once in a while. And of course, you get the rich culture and nature. And I don't know if you can hear my dog in the background, but he's going crazy. Henry is. Willow's sleeping somewhere. But anyway, the cons, altitude and climate adjustment for some of these cities. It's the altitude. For others, it's a climate adjustment. Again, depending on where you're coming from. And that's why an exploratory trip is so important. Language barrier. You need to learn some Spanish to get by. I need to learn more, but I feel comfortable here. But definitely one of my New Year's resolutions is to, get it up a notch, or else you forget it, especially if you're an introvert and you're not out talking to people all the time in Spanish. You forget it. Bureaucracy and slower pace. The bureaucracy, like once you're through your temporary visa and especially when you get your permanent visa, you're not dealing with a lot of bureaucracy. It does come up every once in a while, and it can be frustrating, but more and more of it's being automated. And if you don't mind using different apps for things, you can actually do stuff, pretty easily. Like the old days when I remember I was watching JP and Amelia, and they would talk about lining up at a bank to pay bills. Well, these days there's no reason to go into a bank to pay bills unless you don't want to do it electronically. Your infrastructure and services can be, as part of the risk, as part of the trade-off here, is, there is a chance in early 2026 we could have some electrical issues again. We have a drought that lasts, and a drought is where I'm talking is where the hydroelectric power is generated. That's where it matters whether there's a drought or not the rest of the country. So if there's a drought in that area, which there is right now, and it goes to usually around March, we could have some minor issues in sort of that February, March timeframe in 2026. Nothing like last year, though. And of course, safety issues. And I'll do a video. I've promised to do a video. We're going to do a video and sort of how to look at that from a realistic, accurate point of view of how it affects your life experience in Ecuador, because that's what really counts, right? Is your personal safety and how you feel. The combination of that. Compared to the international news that's out there, that's scaring the heck out of so many people, you'll be very pleasantly surprised. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have problems. That doesn't mean they don't need to be dealt with. But typically in all of these expat places that I've talked about here, there's not, huge crime issues to such an extent it would stop someone from going there. The other thing that you can do, I highly recommend, is you go to the local Facebook groups. If this is your only reason for using Facebook, it's worth it. Go to the different groups and talk to some of the expats. Every town here has an expat Facebook group where you can talk to some of the locals and get different opinions about different things. And of course, there's also the overall Facebook group, which is the most popular, called Ecuador Expats, and you could join that. And most expats in Ecuador belong to that group, or many do. I don't know if it's most, but certainly many do. And there's a lot of very knowledgeable people, far more knowledgeable than me, on those groups that can help you out with very specific questions about a particular place. And the last one here is really looking at the elevation, comparing the different cities that we talked about. So Quito, and you get both feet and meters here, and Cuenca below that, then Cotacachi and Loja and Vilcabamba. So you can see how Loja and Vilcabamba will have sort of those nicer climates compared to the other three. And a little warmer too. So it all depends, again, what you're really looking for. And of course, there's all the beach towns there as well. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I'd love to have you on my journey here and what's going on. And, thanks so much for everyone who's been watching. And I get lots of notes and a lot of supportive people, and it really is very much appreciated. It really is the number one reason why I keep doing these videos. And this is video number 100. It's taken us and myself now 3 years to get these out, but with a few breaks in there, pretty long breaks, but we finally reached that milestone of 100 videos. And thanks so much for all of your support. Take care, my friends.